A side, B side, what side are you on?
Hello and welcome to another episode of A Side B Side Podcast. How's it going, Adam?
I am well, Brooke. I am well. It's been a fun weekend. It is beautiful outside. I watched a lot of fun stuff, and I am excited to talk about death in a bit.
Yes. Okay, so I heard something really
Wait,
cool.
Did you just yas?
Yeah, yes to death. Yes.
Yas, queen.
Yes to catching criminals. Um, so I heard this really interesting stat. Like, apparently there's like over 1 million podcasts or something, but like the a good 50% or something never make it past like 37 episodes. I was like, we are doing something, man.
Well, to be fair, like that is the I'm gonna take a weird turn here, but the weird, not so much weird, but like the social joke is that if you're a white guy, you got a podcast, right?
Yes.
And isn't it remotely surprising that white guys can't get through half a year in commitment?
No. I
No,
mean,
it's not.
I'm just saying.
Like, I would, if I was doing this by myself, I would not have made it this long. We're only on episode 96, 97, 96. We're only this long because I have a exceptional partner who has helped me to the fire when I don't want to do things. And like, that's how things work. So it does not shock me that a bunch of people were like, we'll start a podcast. And they got to like episode 4 and they quit. Because if episode 36 is the mean or the median, or like, I don't understand math, but if like that is the halfway point, that means that there are so many people that are so far about like thousands of episodes. And we know that. That most people start a podcast and doesn't get past 3 or 2 or 1. Because it is way harder than you expect. It is not hard for me. Because I just show up like once a week and I talk to one of my best friends for like 3 hours. Then she edits it all together and makes it make sense. So for me, it's super easy. But I can understand for a lot of people that it's not that easy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, before you get into your shows, I have a funny, since we do talk about crime here, but this is like a funny crime. And it just shows that criminals are stupid.
Criminals are dumb. Like, we commit crimes and we're bad at it.
Criminals be real dumb. So 21-year-old guy in Texas decides after he gets into a fight with his girlfriend that he wants to go smash some stuff. And he breaks into an art museum and he smashes $5 million worth of stuff. That's
not good.
No. So he smashed 2 ancient Greek artifacts. One was a vase and one was like a pot. And together they were valued at like $5 million. And he smashed a couple of other things. So homeboy's going to prison.
Oh, you know who's coming for him? Not Moon Knight's coming for him.
Moon Knight. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You broke some Egyptian artifacts. Sorry, buddy. You're gonna end up dead on the like an ethereal plane. Like you'll be alive here for a little bit. Not so much.
But yeah, homeboy's going to prison. And I mean, it's not like you can be tough like in prison. Like, what'd you do? I broke some pottery.
Yeah. I just really hate antiquities and I broke them. I'm like, okay, buddy. Cool.
I was mad.
This guy murdered 4 people because they looked at them. So, yeah. Well, what did the pot do? It looked at me. Oh, no, it didn't. It's a pot. You're gonna need to go do dishes and also understand that like you're never going to have the social hierarchy here that you need.
Yeah, but yeah, just because his girlfriend was mad at him, or they got into a fight, he decided he needed to break some stuff.
I understand like breaking stuff is therapeutic, and also like the smash rooms were a thing for a little bit, but then lawyers were like, this isn't safe, so they're not doing it anymore. But I feel like we need a place for that. Because
it's not a museum.
Like, not a museum. Like, go to like a random industrial park where they have like 3 escape rooms and like somebody's throwing axes, and they have this one room where they just like the stuff they don't want anymore. You can break. Give them $20 and break the shit.
Yes, 100%
Do that. That's
agree
better.
with you.
I also have to bring up a weird, awkward moment we've had this week, where you texted me and was like, "How close is Brooklyn Park to you?" And I was like, I was like, I mean, not that far, like 15 minutes by driving. And you're like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, "What happened in Brooklyn Park?" And then I was like, "Here are the 2 things that I think about," and then none of them were that. So Brooklyn Park is just north of Minneapolis. And there was a guy who got shot while driving in Minneapolis and drove to Brooklyn Park to call the cops because he did not want Minneapolis cops to show up, which
is
in of
terrifying.
itself terrifying, but also completely understandable after the last year.
Yes.
Where like it is not out of the realm of possibility that Minneapolis cop would show up and they would hear shots fired, and this guy is in the car having been shot without a gun, and they might shoot him. So he drove to a suburb to call the cops and being like, "Hey, I got shot. I'm in the suburbs. I hope you guys won't shoot me."
That
also in that same suburb.
awful.
So messed up. But that's where we're at as a metro at this point. If you get shot in Minneapolis or St. Paul, you drive to the suburbs because hopefully they won't shoot you there because you mentioned guns. Also in Brooklyn Park this week, there's a neighborhood that has had their water main break twice in the last month. And their basements have been flooded and then flooded again. And finally the city's like, we'll give you some money for that. Sorry about that. How does a water main in the same neighborhood break twice in 6 weeks?
That's terrible.
So I was like, it's got to be one of these 2 stories.
Yeah.
So I sent both. It was not.
It was nothing remotely even serious. And you're like, is it this or is it this? And I was like, no, it's just Taco Bell.
And the best part is that my mom, so I spent the last 4 days with my folks in Wisconsin at the lake. It was amazing. Very nice to get away from reality for a bit. My mom's like, "Hey, your cousin shared this thing that's happening in Kansas about Taco Bell." And I'm like, "Okay." She's like, "Yeah, it's like this Taco Bell that is 2 stories. And on the top, so like you just drive it like you're a bank. And
Yes.
you get your food delivered to you right away." And I was like, "Mom, are we sure that's in Kansas?" And she's like, "Yeah, your cousin posted it." I was like, "Okay." Then I pull up an article. I was like, "Well, there's also one in Minnesota." And the best part is that I went back to Facebook, and the person who had posted it, God bless their soul, posted it from a Kansas City newspaper. So they assumed it was in Kansas. But they live in Colorado. And then their sister-in-law called them out and says like, "No, the article actually says it's happening in Minnesota."
It's in Minnesota and
like,
Brooklyn Park.
Which is so weird because like, why Minnesota? I guess like
all the places to start, right?
Well, but I mean like we're super into driving because it's cold like 12 months out of the year here, so it makes sense. But the fact that you drive up to the like it's a bank driving, like the kitchen is above. There's 4 drive-in levels. You drive in, you scan a code, and then your food just drops down.
Which
just
is
like the
neat.
bank.
I mean,
it's really neat.
It's really neat,
but also like super impersonal and
maybe a little messy.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm not. Depends on what you order. Is the Baja Blast going to be Baja Blasted by the time it gets to the end of the tube?
It just seems like I'm hoping they have this all figured out, so that when you open it, it's not just complete disaster.
I do think that. So they mentioned that one of the reasons for this is that they have so many DoorDash, Uber Eats, like what's the other Grubhub orders. And so these guys can roll up in their car because they don't want to get out of the car, and they just scan a code and they get the food right away. Which for that, I totally understand. Because working in a restaurant for the last year, the delivery driver guys are aggressively not friendly.
Right.
They'll walk in and they'll hold the phone up. They'll be like, "I need this." And we're like, "Okay, dude, it is 5 p.m. on a Friday. So you're going to get that. It's not going to happen now. It's probably going to be 20 minutes. So you need to stand outside. And then every 30 seconds, they're coming back. I need this. I'm like, yeah, we told you. It's probably going to be 30 minutes. So go outside and stand there. And they don't. And they get so angry. And they like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to cost you money, buddy. But like, we have to make the food. If we just give you cold food and you deliver it, then you're going to lose the money. So don't you want hot food?
You would think.
You would think, but they're all like, no, I need the money right now. I need the food. I have to get so many more orders. They all sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So, give me the food. Get to the chopper.
So what'd you watch this week?
I watched a lot of NCIS because I was at the cabin with my folks, and I also watched Bosch for the first time. And it was the new season, the new season of Bosch, which is now on Freeview, which used to be IMDb, which was really good. My folks tried to watch an episode of Ozark while I was working on my computer, and that did not work. So I had to go downstairs and work on my computer because everyone has told me how good Ozark is. I watched half of an episode, and I don't know that the writers understand that there are words other than fuck.
I mean, are there though? Really?
There are so many words other than fuck. Like, if you have to use fuck every third word, you're not actually trying as a writer.
Okay, no. But you have to realize that there are people that talk like that.
There are, but I don't think it's an interesting dialogue.
So you jumped into the last season mid-episode, and you're judging the series.
I'm a middle-aged white guy is what I do.
Yes, 100%.
I'm going to judge some stuff. But like, honestly, you didn't have to, like, and I'm not saying this as somebody who doesn't like swear words. Like, swear words are fine, but like when you misuse something, it's like just like when you say love too much, it loses all meaning. When you say fuck every third word, now when you say fuck, it doesn't mean anything.
Are you telling me that legitimately you have never talked to someone that talks like that?
I have not.
I have.
You have a much more diversified experience in life. And I know that I do not have a very diversified experience in life. I grew up very sheltered. Like, I don't think I swore until I was 16. And I think
it has nothing to do with growing up. It has just to do with like traveling, which you have done.
Well, yeah, I've traveled, but I've never met somebody who needed to swear every other word.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to call BS on you because we have worked with someone that did.
Okay, no. Who? What?
Yeah.
This might have to be an off conversation, but who?
It was the traffic person.
She didn't swear that much.
Yes, she did.
Really?
Yes, she did.
I guess I blocked it out then. Like, I understand. Like, I swear more than a normal person, or at least in my experience of normal people. Like, I just spent 4 days with my parents at the lake, and no one swore at all. And at one point, like the boat died, and we're towing the boat, and I'm trying to figure out how to get the boat into the dock. And I couldn't swear, so I said something like nonsense, like fumble jumble, because I was just farming nougat. Like, yes, I knew, like, I'm in this context, I cannot swear. I do not feel comfortable swearing. Fumble jumble. And like, it was a bad moment. Like, the boat is going sideways into the dock, and it has no power, and I'm trying to throw the freaking rope. And like, and no one cared when I yelled out. I was like, I threw the rope. It didn't reach my father. And my uncle laughs and I just yelled, I'm a theater major. Like, no one cares at that point. Like, you can't always fall back on that, Adam. You just need to figure out how to throw the rope, because right now the boat is sliding into the dock and everything's going to be broken. But no, I do not know anybody that has to swear every sentence.
Okay. But aside from that, so that's your entire judgment is because of the swearing.
I like, we watched maybe 20 minutes of it and I was working on my computer, and I did the passive aggressive thing. I put my headphones on, and my dad saw me put the headphones on, then he switched to Bosch. He's just like, is this too much? I'm like, I'm fine. And I put my headphones on and he was like,
Adam,
okay.
If my mom can watch it and appreciate it, then you need to chill out.
Well, no, it was a lot. Like, my first exposure, it was like, F you and F this. I'm like, what are we doing right now? Is this like a Kevin Smith movie from 1996?
These are people that live in like the Ozarks.
I've been to the Ozarks. No one in the Ozarks swears that much.
All right.
That's what like bothered me the most. It's like, I've spent a lot of time in the Ozarks, in southern Missouri, northwestern Wisconsin, and those people do not swear like that. So
aside from that, you actually should start from the beginning and actually give it a chance, because it is a very good show.
I should. I love Jason Bateman.
I was gonna let it go. Go.
I'm so bad with names. Like, we should change the name of this podcast to the B-side. Adam doesn't know anybody's name side. That's really
Justine is the sister. So yes. Maybe that's where you were coming from instead of Justin.
You're giving me way too much credit. I love you for trying to give me an out, but I'm not going to say it. I was just wrong.
Oh man. All right.
If y'all want like the outtakes on like YouTube or something, just send us messages. We'll send you the outtakes. It's not safe for work.
Real quick. Let's see. What did I watch? Oh, okay. So did you ever watch Designing Women?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. So Jean Smart, she was Charlene on there. She was also the mom on Mayor of Easttown.
Yep. Okay.
And they made her look so different. Well, she has a show on HBO and is called Hacks. And so she's basically like a stand-up comic. Like, she's been a stand-up comic for years, a female stand-up comic, which, coming up in that era where there were no female comics, she's like a trailblazer. And she's like trying to revitalize. She has like a residency in Vegas, and she's like trying to like revitalize her act and stuff. It is so good and so funny.
Then it's had a couple seasons now too, right?
Yeah, the second season just dropped.
I feel like so many things came out post-pandemic, and I don't know if they were new or they were pre-recorded or if they were like delayed, but it felt like last year there were so many things that came out, and we did like, I think some of them got lost in the shuffle.
Mm-hmm. Did you see that Brett Goldstein talked about the third season of Ted Lasso?
Yeah, they're managing expectations. It's going to be the last season.
Yeah,
and they're not saying it's the last season, but they are giving every indication that it will.
No, he said it is, and he said, spoiler alert, everybody dies.
Right, which is also managing expectations, because there's no way everybody dies.
I know, but it's pretty funny.
Oh my goodness, this cast is ridiculous.
On
Hacks. Yeah, you've got Laurie Metcalf from Roseanne, Ming-Na Wen, Margaret Cho, Devon Sawa, who was like the it guy from Idle Hands in early 2000s. Wow, this is
you've got
really
what's her name that's on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
One of the main characters, Caitlin Olsen.
Something. Yeah,
but not one of the Olsens, but an Olsen.
Right. So it's a very funny show. I mean, it is really funny.
Yeah.
And some of John Sibley, On TikTok, there was a trend that went really viral because he was watching a little person, he was like watching a kid dance or something like that. And he was like, show them girl, bow, 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 whatever. His sound went viral. He's in it and he's really good too.
And I have done a lot of stupid things in my life, but the hardest thing that I've been in front of thousands of people performing something. The hardest thing that I've ever done on stage, or maybe off stage, is stand-up comedy. It is not easy. Like, you think you're a funny person, you think you got jokes, and then you go up there and you are on an island with a spotlight and a mic, and everything that you ever thought was funny is suddenly out of your brain. And you're just this guy standing up there with a complete blank idea. I don't know how they do it every time, how they come up with funny, like, new stuff. All like that is amazing to me. I think I'm funny. I'm funny in situational. I am funny in like improv. I could deliver a line, but you throw me on stage with a light and you tell me to be funny, nada. Tell me to like do a after dinner speech, sure. You want a speech about describing something, cool. You want me to like introduce somebody I've never met, I can do that. Telling a joke on a spotlight on a stage is an entirely different world.
Yeah.
And I don't think they get enough credit for having the ability and also just the no give a fuck to do it.
Well, and
out there.
What I really liked about the show is it shows a lot of that behind the scenes process and a lot of like, what does it take to build a set and stuff like that. Like it kind of does give you an appreciation, and the fact that she's a female doing this is so cool.
Which in and of itself brings an entirely different dynamic to it, or probably layers of dynamic. Because as a cisgendered white male, I can walk on stage and I've got a few jokes I can tell that are not going to really offend anybody, but also I get to offend people in a different way than somebody can who's not a cisgendered white man.
So I highly recommend Hacks. It's funny. I binged it. The episodes are like 30 minutes long. I mean, it's not going to take you long to get
through. Wow. So it's like sitcom level. So it's like length at least. That's good.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So this week it's 96. You know what that means?
It means I got to go first. I'm excited about this. I've actually been thinking about this for a few days, which ironically, that's a weird thing to say because we do this every week. So of course I've been thinking about it for a few days. But... and I'm going to like cut up in a weird vein here.
Okay.
As I do. I am 41 and a half, almost. And I have, after COVID, been dipping my toe back into the dating pool. And that is in and of itself fraught with peril. And sometimes you have really good conversations with people that don't really lead anywhere, but they remind you of something that you love that you have to go back and look at. So I had this really nice first date where at some point in the first date, we talked about how much we both loved the Thomas Crown Affair. Now, there have been no responses to the text, so there will probably be another second date, but it made me rewatch the original Thomas Crown Affair, the 1999 version with Pierce Brosnan and Rene Russo. And then I had never watched the original, which goes all the way back to 1976 with Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway, or 1978. I did not know it was a remake when I watched it in the 90s. So in my accepting that there will never be a second date moment, I was watching both movies. And there are a lot of similarities. There are a lot of differences. And there is something about the 1999 version of the Thomas Crown Affair that was so unique and beautiful. And I am so disappointed it has not been more consistent in movies since. So, The Thomas Crown Affair in 1968, starring Steve McQueen and Dunaway, was about a rich guy who's bored and robs a bank, or hires some guys to rob a bank, then ends up with the money. And Faye Dunaway is the insurance investigator who's trying to catch the mastermind criminal. They have a bit of a flirtation, they have a bit of a relationship, and at the end, it does not have a happy end. Steve McQueen is an excellent action movie guy.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie called for witty repartee, in jokes, sly smiles, everything that Faye Dunaway was excellent at. But Steve McQueen is a bit more, or was a bit more plain smoking, like brutish is what it is. He's not going to play word games because that's not his strength. So the original Thomas Crown Affair that I've just recently watched in the last week is much more a classic heist movie. There are elements of romance, there are elements of mystery and sort of this cat and mouse game, but they do not truly come into play because one, the original crime, which is a bank robbery, doesn't really seem to matter to our title character, Thomas Crown, or in this place, played by Steve McQueen, because he doesn't need any money. He just did it because could I do it?
Mm-hmm.
It's more like a challenge to him. It's a game. Whereas in the 1999 version, starring Pierce Brosnan and Rene Russo, they take the same base parts from the remake of the 1960 movie, which is a rich guy steals something and an insurance investigator investigates him, and they kind of fall in love. Maybe not. They're who's playing who. But in the 1999 version, instead of just stealing, like hiring guys to rob a bank and getting more money when he already has more money than he needs because he's, basically Batman. The 1999 version is he steals a painting that he then returns 2 days later because he wants to see if he could do it. And so you have this entire different narrative of like where 68 was like, I'm stealing stuff because I'm bored and I'm stealing money and that's not really that interesting. It's 99, I'm stealing stuff because I want to see the challenge. I'm also going to find the most challenging thing I could steal and see if I can get away with it. Because I have more money than God. So I really don't need the challenge or the money. I just want to see, can I do it? So he steals his painting. He returns it 2 days later, painted behind another painting. We don't know that till later. Spoiler alert, sorry. The movie is 23 years old, so if you've not seen it now, or the original from 1968 is 63 years old, 64 years old. So spoiler alert is not needed. But what really changes the two movies is that in 1968, you had Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway. Amazingly beautiful people, good actors, but Steve McQueen was not, witty repartee was not his thing. Word games are not his thing. In 1999, you took Pierce Brosnan and Rene Russo and like pitted them against each other and then gave them a script where wordplay was flirting, was foreplay, was sexuality, and the movie is so there was like the romance part of 1968, but it seemed forced. It felt like both of them were playing the other. It was never real. And this is where it gets weird for me, because when I'm on this date and someone mentions the Thomas Crown Affair and how much they loved the romance angle of it, I'm like, yeah, it was amazing. Because the romance in the Thomas Crown Affair between Pierce Brosnan and Rene Russo was as much verbal and mental as it was physical. And the entire idea of them being a thief, an investigator, the lines are so blurred. They fall in love, they fall out of love, they trust each other, they don't trust each other. At one point, Rene Russo is so comfortable on this forbidden island that Thomas Crown or Pierce Brosnan owns, that she's sunbathing nakedly, which is amazing. And that's where, but also that's where it comes into stark focus, that you have two people who are so matched, whether they are intelligence or wittiness or attractive, but they're also the same age.
Mm-hmm.
Pierce Brosnan was 46. Rene Russo was 45.
Okay.
And I do not know the last time that, and this is the same year that Entrapment came out. And I love Entrapment, but Sean Connery was 69 and Catherine Zeta-Jones was 29.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Hollywood usually goes.
Right.
These ridiculous, like, May, December, like, romances that make no sense whatsoever. And here you have two people who are matched not only in wit, not only in intelligence, but in age, and are equals. And I think that is why it stuck with me so much when I'm on this date and somebody mentions it, and we are the same age. We're going through this whole, like, trying to figure out each other. To make a movie where you have two people who are incredibly intelligent, are playing mind games with each other, who are attractive beyond all, but are also the same age and are contemporaries, and they are on level ground. And I think that is the beauty of the Thomas Crown Affair in the remake. The first one is just a heist movie. Steve McQueen's just trying to get away. Faye is trying to catch him. There is no chemistry. There's chemistry, but there's not, like, any connection.
Mm-hmm. Thomas
Crown Affair, like, halfway through the movie, you don't even give a flip about any of the paintings that have been stolen. You just want this relationship to work because it is so intense and they are so real and so connected. And that's what makes the twists and the turns of the movie so much harder to take, because you're invested. You see these two beautiful, amazing, intelligent people who are matched in the same age and feel like they are two sides of the same coin. And maybe they're too similar. And I'm going to spoil the end. And I think that John McTiernan, who was the director of the movie, tried a little too hard to stretch out the ending, mm-hmm. because there's the natural ending where, again, spoiling the entire movie.
Spoiler alert.
If you've not seen it, Thomas Crown comes to, so Pierce Brosnan comes to Rene Russo's character and he's like, hey, I know you've been searching for this painting and I'm going to return it to the museum tomorrow. And then I'm going to be at a helicopter pad at 4 p.m. And you can come with me or you cannot. You can call the police and tell them that I'm returning it and try to stop me if you want. And Rene Russo, who's caught in this sort of, like, I love this guy, but I'm also, like, an investigator and I'm also working with the police. And then Dennis Leary, who, this is the most understated Dennis Leary performance of his life. He's just playing, like, this good cop who's, like, kind of, like, mad, but also, like, he plays, like, the good guy friend the entire time and does a really good job as the understated cop guy, which was not what you would expect from Dennis Leary, but he does a great job. He's very, very young. Dennis Leary is 1999, so he's before he does any of the what was the series he was in? But it was after all of his
Rescue Me.
Yeah, it was before Rescue Me, but it was after, like, his comedy albums where he has an entire song called "I'm an Asshole," which unironically my ex-wife played for me on, like, our third date, so it should have been a sign. Should have seen something coming because I'm an asshole. But he does a really great job. And they have this moment where he tells her, I'm going to return the painting that we've been searching for through the entire movie. This is like 2/3 of the way through the movie. And he's like, I am going to return it because then we'll be free and you and I can run away together. And I'm going to be at the helicopter pad on Wall Street at 4 p.m. And you can either tell them that I'm returning it and try to catch me, or you can meet me at the helipad. And she's conflicted because she wants to do the right thing. And she actually doesn't trust this guy because he's a womanizer. Is he playing me? Does he really love me? And she does what I think anyone would do. And she turns him into the cops and says, hey, he's going to try to return the painting. And because it is so well written and so well done, you don't see it coming. And you feel like you should have. Because this entire movie is about misdirection and people misunderstanding and thinking they know what's going on. And the whole heist happens. But it doesn't actually happen because the painting never left the building. Or it was returned 2 days after. And so Pierce Brosnan's character, Thomas Crown, like wedges his cane in a thing so you can't get the door closed to protect the painting, and the fire alarms go off, and the painting that he had donated to the museum 2 days after the theft turns out to be the actual painting that he had stolen with a fake veneer of watercolor over the top. And then he steals another painting while it's all going. And now Rene Russo is like, I'm so mad because he told me to put it back, and he put it back, but he still stole something else. And then she runs to meet him. And I think that a better ending, and this is, I do not make movies. I don't have enough money and or cachet to do so. But I feel like a better ending would have been to play it off right there. Like, she's going to meet him at the helipad. They'll go away together. But I think McTierney knew that we were all expecting. Mm-hmm. So she runs to the helipad, and he's not there. There's a guy there in a bowler hat who gives her a painting, which is the other painting that he stole. And she takes it and returns it to police and everything. And she's like, my life is over. Everything is done. I'm going to go away. I'm going to pick the place that I would run away to if I ran away, which they talked about earlier in a pillow talk moment where it just proves that this entire time he's been listening and valuing what she says. So she gets on the plane, leaving her life behind, distraught that her lover, Thomas Crown, didn't show up and he doesn't care. And then she's crying. And so all of a sudden, a hand reaches over the chair, gives her a Kleenex. And in a Scottish accent, because they talked about using different accents, he says, don't cry. And somehow, I wanted it so, I feel like the traditional Hollywood ending would have been on that helicopter pad where they embrace, they kiss, they get in the helicopter, they ride off into the sunset. In a way, this is so much better because, and this is a weird thing about relationships that I am still learning. But he said, this is how things are going to go. You'll go there. I'll meet you at the helicopter pad. And then even though she showed up at the helicopter pad, he wasn't there. But what he was really listening to is that the helicopter pad and that escape wasn't her dream. Her dream was to go on the plane to this one place. When he's asked her, where would you go when you wanted to go get away from everything? And so by showing up on the plane, he proved that he's been listening. And he wanted this to be her choice, not what he asked her to do. And to me, the romance of that moment where he said, I'm going to listen to what your dream was, and I'm going to, I'd love to have the money to just buy a ticket on every plane to wherever and ride on it because the person I think that I love is going to that place. But the fact that he said, like, if she shows up at the helicopter park, it's not her choice. But if I show up where her dream is going, then that means more. And in that moment, it talked to me about, like, this is romance on a different level. Because romance is so much more about listening and caring about what they want and what the person that you care about wants than it is about what you want or you plan. And everything I've read stories about both movies. I've watched both movies in the last week. And to me, the number one thing that separates the 2019 version from the 1968 version is this adult understanding of love and relationships. Whereas, yeah, he's a billionaire. He could just say, meet me on the helipad and come with me. But then she would always question whether it was her choice or not. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't go to the helipad. He meets her on the plane going to where her dream is and says, I'm coming with you. And that's why I think that Thomas Crown Affair may be the most romantic and ridiculous, but also encouraging movie that I have ever seen. And it's really, really nice that the two stars are similar ages, because that never happens, has not happened before, and it was not a 90s thing. It has certainly not happened in the last 23 years. And it creates this amazing love story and exceptional performances from both Pierce Brosnan and Rene Russo. And I was like, how has this not been remade? So then I'm going through various internet links. And in 2016, and this hurts me that it has not happened. This makes me, I want this to happen. Mm-hmm. I did not know it was a thing until 2 days ago. And I've now read the article, and it is 6 years old and it has not happened, and I'm angry. But right after Creed was a huge hit, the next project that Michael B. Jordan was linked with was a remake of the Thomas Crown Affair with him as the lead. And the idea was to have a more representative, like to have him as the lead, but also have a African-American female as the lead, and have a true romance. And this is not something that I understood until I was reading articles that talked about whether this movie was going to be made, and how rare it is for, and I looked back and I cannot really remember in a major like blockbuster movie to have a black man and a black woman in a romantic relationship. There have been like mixed relationships, but rarely, especially on a level of where like this is all about sensuality, it's about like attractiveness, it's about the wit and the flirtation of two incredible people. That is not something that happens or has happened very much, and it should. And that's why I'm very disappointed it is not, because I think that Michael B. Jordan would be an amazing lead, and there are so many African-American actresses that could be his foil in that role. And I guess it's more that I feel bad that I've never considered that is a missing part of entertainment, but it clearly is, because even if you have a black male lead, they're often cast with a white woman, or Eva Mendes, who like was like the stand-in for every like gender for every ethnicity for years. And I do not think that is fair. And I think I think that he would be so good in this role. Like it would be and it would challenge him in a different way than he's been given any other roles. Like to be like he's always debonair, he's always smooth, but to never have the action or violence aspect of it be around, I think would be really, really cool to see. And I implore Hollywood. I mean, I hope that they will return to it because I think there is a really good opportunity there. And I think it's a great story. I love how the 99 version improved on 68. And I think that the 2019, 2014, 2022, like, well, what are we at? 2023 now? Like any of those versions could improve on 99. And it's a great source material. And I wish that someone would explore it. And I think that that is the next step that would improve the story.
Nice.
So yeah, if you go on a date with me, it's probably going to turn into an A-side. So sorry about that.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
I mean, I like to cut open a vein here. So like, this is where I talk about this. I'm not supposed to. So.
Oh man. I did not realize that the Thomas Crown Affair was a remake either. I have seen the 90s version. I have not seen the original version with Steve McQueen.
Dude, they are so sexy.
Steve McQueen?
No, well, Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway are very sexy, but Pierce Brosnan and Rene Russo,
yes,
like I have to stop and like go get some water,
especially when she was sunbathing.
Like I'm getting like dehydrated.
You're all verklempt.
I'm verklempt, yeah.
Oh man. But like I said, I have seen the 90s version, haven't seen the original, and I agree with you. I think that Michael B. Jordan would be a really good, I think it would be a good challenge for him because he typically does the actiony stuff. I mean, I think he's tried to do some drama. There was Notes from Jordan, I think it was called, or something like that, but I don't know that it did that well. So it would be an interesting take for him.
And so like the person who was and this the article I found is from 2006, so clearly like this was after his big like kind of breaking into stuff as Creed. And the co-star that was mentioned in this article, forgive me, trying to get to, was Teyana Paris, who see, she was in Empire, If Beale Street Could Talk. Oh, it's Monica Rambeau from Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, okay.
So like before she was that, she was mentioned as like the in this article at least, like somebody who would be a great like sort of foil to him. I can totally see that. I just feel like there needs to be there needs to be more representation of people who are the same age falling in love in Hollywood. Because otherwise you got jackasses like me who think they could be Sean Connery and be 69 and date a 29-year-old. That's not good. We don't need more of that. We need less of that. More representations of like people who are within 2 years of each other having a relationship would be good, in my opinion. And also, I think if they're taking this sort of universal story, that we need a new version that also encompasses more people. Like we've shown Steve McQueen, Faye Dunaway, Pierce Brosnan, Rene Russo. We need to diversify that palette a little bit more. And it's a great story that can be retold, and I think would work again.
I am trying to think, like you mentioned, I can't think of any major blockbusters action wise anyway, where both leads are African American.
Yeah. I mean, like in like Independence Day, you had Will Smith and Vivica A. Fox, but they were like minor characters.
Yeah, I mean, Will Smith wasn't a minor character, but I think their relationship was like it was kind of like
their relationship was not the foremost.
Right.
It is high time that, and I think one of the cool things about this era that we're in, where we have so many streaming options, is that we're getting more and more diversity, but also there is less eyes on it because there's so much out there. Mm-hmm. Like the new Wonder Years, where Dule Hill plays the father, mm-hmm. where they've kind of like so good.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
So good. And I love how they're taking this sort of established staple, mm-hmm. but reminding us that there are more sides to the story. Mm-hmm. And that is absolutely new. I mean, I know that like Top Gun is all the shit right now. I have not seen it. I am not super excited to see it. I know I'm a bad person. I get it. People like Top Gun. I really don't need to see another Tom Cruise is the hero movie. Although Jennifer Connelly's in it, and I really need to see more Jennifer Connelly in my life. So I'm gonna cave at some point.
Well, and the reviews have been really good, although it might get pulled. So,
like, have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I was gonna go see it yesterday. The theater was like packed because it's $5 Tuesdays, and then the family that owns the rights to it are suing, and they're trying to get it pulled.
Oh, really?
Theaters. So yeah, really? They have the copyright, and so it was licensed through 2020. And the licensing ran out in 2020, and so the family that has the copyright is suing, and they want it pulled from theaters.
Or give us all the monies.
Exactly.
I don't need to see Tom Cruise as another hero, and I certainly don't need to see the world's most overrated white male actor Miles Teller as a hero.
Oh gosh.
I'm sorry, not good. He's not been good in anything. Like, so he threw on a mustache for this movie, and he's got some abs, and people are like, he's good again. I'm like, the dude's not a good actor. I don't know how he keeps getting stuff, but he's not good.
Oh my gosh.
Are you laughing? Are you a huge Miles Teller guy?
No, I could not care about him in the slightest.
Nobody cares. He's not good at his job. Like, he is the equivalent. Like, I'm just probably get in trouble here. He is the epitome of the sales guy that does just enough to keep his job. Mm. And we all know that guy. And we all hate that guy. Oh. Miles Teller is the sales guy we all love to hate. Also, Angelina Jolie, I love you. This is Angelina Jolie podcast.
It is.
So come at me, Miles Teller fans.
Oh, man. All right. So is that the A side?
That's the A side. I've offended like so many people. We should stop that.
So, well, you might not like Miles Teller. I think you're going to like
me?
Yeah.
Was that obvious? I don't know. I'm a big fan of Angelina Jolie.
I think you're going to like this guy even less.
Well, okay.
His name is Johann Unterweger. He's Austrian, and I hope I'm saying that right. Unterweger. His nickname is Jack. So Jack was born in August 16th of 1958 in Judenberg, Styria, Austria. He was born to Theresia, who was a Viennese barmaid and waitress, and Jack Becker, who was an American soldier that she had met in Trieste, Italy. Some reports say that Theresia was a sex worker as well. So Jack's mom was jailed for fraud while she was pregnant with him. And once she was released, she traveled to Graz, where Jack was born, Johann. Well, his mom's arrested again. Now he's born in 1950, and his mom is arrested again in 1953. So then he was sent to Carinthia to live with his grandfather, who was known as a, quote, rough fellow. Jack used to help his grandfather steal animals, farm animals. What's up with stealing farm animals? Like, this is not the first that we've heard of this.
Well, I feel like they're very expensive to buy. I have not bought a farm animal, but I've bought a lot of squishmallows, and they're also expensive.
So Jack was
like if my neighbor had a squishmallow, I might steal it.
Uh-huh. So Jack's in and out of prison. I guess like mother like son. He's in and out of prison a lot as a younger man. Between 1966 and 1978, he works as a server, and he's convicted 16 different times for theft-related offenses, mostly. But there was a little bit of pimping and sex assaults in there as well.
Just a little bit of pimping. We threw that
a little
in.
Pimping.
It's like the salt. Yeah, just sprinkle in some pimping.
Sprinkle in a little bit of pimping. He also assaulted a sex worker. So he spent most of those years in jail. He was quoted as saying, "I wielded my steel rod among the prostitutes of Hamburg, Munich, and Marseille. I had enemies, and I conquered them through my inner hatred." He's a real positive peach right there.
I mean, sounds like a manifesto of a lot of people who've been shooting up schools.
So now remember, from 66 to 74, he's in and out for mostly theft, a little pimping, sprinkling some pimping, and a sexual assault. In 1974, he ups his ante, and he murders 18-year-old West German national Margaret Schaefer. He strangles Margaret using her own bra. He is found and convicted. In 1976, he's sentenced to life in prison. At the trial, he claims to have seen his mother's face as he was strangling Margaret. I'm guessing he was probably, this is my personal guess, he was probably trying to garner sympathy since his mother had left him at such a young age.
Fair, yeah.
So while he's in prison, he starts to write. We've talked about this before. In prison, lots of people take up hobbies. He's got a hobby. He starts writing short stories, poems, and plays. He even wrote an autobiography called Purgatory, or the Trip to Prison: Report of a Guilty Man, that actually
I feel like prison is like what all of us went through during quarantine. Like, we're baking bread, we're like making puzzles all the time, we're like writing letters. But just imagine that for like 30 years.
Except we didn't have guards.
Oh, you didn't.
So this book, this autobiography, actually served as the basis for a documentary later. There has been some dispute on whether Johann Jack actually wrote this or not. Some people are saying that it was written by Austrian playwright, novelist, and Nobel Prize winner Alfred Jelinek.
No, obviously. I mean, we've all been accused of having an Austrian playwright, novelist, write our books.
So the book was actually praised by Nobel Prize winners. And this was a big deal because, well, Jack was illiterate when he entered prison. Now he goes into prison illiterate, and he starts writing short stories, poems, plays, which plays into the theory that maybe he didn't actually write this.
I mean, I've read a lot of books from people who I thought who were literate as well.
So his book, The End-Stationed Zuchthaus, which is terminal prison, won a literary award in 1984, and he was actually awarded or celebrated by Austria's elite. Okay.
Come
So
on, Austria is elite. No.
he writes, like I said, he goes in 76, he goes in illiterate, learns how to read, how to write, starts writing these magnificent pieces, wins an award in 84. Well, in 85, a campaign began to pardon and release Unterweger from prison. They were wanting to have him declared an artist and a rehabbed man.
Okay, you'll get like being declared an artist doesn't mean you are not viable for your crimes. Is it? Because if it is, then I evidently had the right undergraduate degree.
I wouldn't think so, but I mean,
it was like you can't be like, no, he killed 5 people, but he's an artist. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Well, it was for art. Well, I mean, they died in a good way.
He's an artiste. He's a great man. So Austrian President Rudolf Kirschlager initially refused the petition when it was presented him. He cited the court mandated minimum 15 years in prison. Well,
it's like, I will not sign this until everyone lets me play their reindeer games.
So there were a bunch of people. There was journalists, politicians, artists, writers, and they're all like pleading for a pardon, including this Alfred Jemelick, who was, behind there was that conspiracy that he actually wrote the book. He was actually one of the people that was like, come on, he deserves a pardon. And Günter Grass, who was another Nobel Prize winning author. Goodness. Also in on this campaign was Alfred Kohlerreich, who was the editor of the magazine called Manuscripte. A statement signed by supporters of his release said that Austrian justice will be measured by the Unterweger case. People really wanted to believe in rehab and second chances.
Also, he was famous, and they didn't want a famous guy to die
in prison.
Yeah.
So 5 years later, the campaign worked, and Unterweger is released May 23rd of 1990. But this was after his minimum 15-year prison term. Upon his release, the warden said, "We will never find a prisoner so well prepared for freedom."
Okay.
Is he going to eat his words? We shall see.
Foreshadowing.
Well, once he was released, his autobiography started being taught in Austrian schools, and his stories for children were actually performed on Austrian radio. Jack Unterweger himself hosted television programs which talked about criminal rehabilitation, and he worked as a reporter for the public broadcaster ORF, where he reported on stories concerning murders.
So he's like, well, Bob and Jen, I'm here at the murder event, and if I would have killed this person, I would have done it this way. But it appears that this person did not follow my advice, and they left prints at the scene. So we'll catch them soon.
No, well, you might be on a little bit of something. So as he's reporting, he's like, "Hey, Jack and Janet, if I were the murderer, I would have done it this way. Oh, it appears the murderer has done it this way." Foreshadowing, yes.
He's reporting from his own murders.
So,
what is this? This is like a 90s soap opera. Somebody's going to be possessed by a devil by the end of it.
So Jack Unterweger, like I said, he's reporting, he's working for a public broadcaster, and he's traveling all over the place, including to the United States. And while he was reporting in the US, he even stayed at the infamous Cecil Hotel. Now, we've mentioned the Cecil Hotel once before, and there's a Netflix documentary about it. Like, so many murderers stayed there. It's like wild. It's wild how many murderers actually stayed at this.
It's like the Airbnb of psychopaths.
It's like they all pass the business card to each other. I'm like, hey, dude, they give great discounts to serial killers.
But sometimes, and I'm going off a little bit off the rails here, but like when there is a source of great evil is drawn to that source.
Yeah. And they were drawn, let me tell you. So Unterweger had people so snowed that even the LAPD let him do a ride along. So law enforcement ends up finding out that, Unterweger not as rehabbed as they once believed, because they were able to connect him to the death of Blanka Bovoka in Czechoslovakia and, multiple others, like Brunhilde Masser, who is 39, Heidi Hammerer, Elfriede Schrimpf, and Sylvia Zagler, along with Sabine Moitzel, Karen Aruglu Sladky, and Regina Prem. And this all happened in the first year of his release in 1990. They were all strangled with what? Oh, do you remember in 1974 when he killed Margaret Schaefer? He used her bra. They were all killed the same way.
That's a weird coincidence. I'm sure it can't be connected.
Mm-hmm. In 1991, before it's discovered and he's connected to these crimes, Jack Unterweger was hired by an Austrian magazine to write about crime in Los Angeles and the difference between the attitudes in the US and Europe to sex work. During his time in LA, imagine this, 3 sex workers, Shannon Exley, Irene Rodriguez, and Peggy Booth, were all beaten, sexually assaulted with tree branches, and strangled with what, Adam? Can you guess?
Their own bra.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can we go back to the sexually assaulted with tree branches? That is not something I misheard.
No, it's not, unfortunately.
I don't need to hear it again.
Yeah. So police begin to get suspicious of Unterweger, and he leaves the US. He flees to Switzerland, and then he goes to Paris. Then he comes back to the US to Miami, which we're going to talk about in a second. So in Austria, Jack is suggested as a suspect for the murders of these sex workers because, there's nobody else to suspect.
Right. And it's his MO.
Right. So police are really looking hard at him, and they put him under surveillance until he goes to the US. Police in Graz, remember his mom had gone to Graz when she got out of prison, and that's where he was born. So police in Graz were able to finally get enough evidence to arrest Unterweger. But by the time they get to his house, he's gone.
He gone.
So again, he flees all the different countries and he's arrested. Like I said, he ends up in Miami, and that's where he's arrested along with his girlfriend, Bianca. Like, okay, in a way, this kind of like the Thomas Crown Affair, because there's all the traveling and stuff. It's like the Thomas Crown murder affair in a way. Like, it's just, he's all over the place.
Yeah, but like also like he ain't Pierce Brosnan.
No, he ain't. Not at all.
She ain't Renee Russo. Like I would commit murder for probably either of them, maybe both.
So U.S. Marshals arrest Jack Unterweger in Miami on February 27th of 1992. While he was still on the run, he calls the Austrian media to try to convince them of his innocence. He's like, look, you see, I wrote these books. I've talked about criminal reform. I am a changed man. But police, get this. His own narcissism works against him, because police are able to lure him out of hiding because they pretend to be reporters from Success magazine, and they tell him that they want to pay him $10,000 for his story. He takes the bait, and he's taken down by U.S. Marshals. He's extradited back to Austria on May 27th of 1992 and charged with 11 murders, including 1 in Prague, 3 in LA. Jury finds him guilty of 9 by a majority, because it's not like here where it has to be, all or nothing.
Yeah. Different constitution, different rules of engagement. All
right. Under Austrian law at the time, the majority, it was a 6-2 majority, and that was enough. So, of course, once he's convicted, he gets an examination by a psychiatrist, Dr. Reinhard Haller, and he diagnoses him with narcissistic personality disorder, which we could have told you that by the fact that he wanted to tell his story while he was on the run for $10,000. Like,
yeah, he wanted to be on TV. I mean, come on.
I don't have a medical degree, but if he's lured out by $10,000 while on the run, he's probably a narcissist. My opinion, backed by the fact that he was diagnosed. He presents his findings to the court on June 20th of 1994, and on June 29th of the same year, he's sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Well, that very night, not wanting to spend the rest of his life in prison, Jack Unterweger commits suicide at the Graz Carlisle prison. He takes his life by making a rope from shoelaces and the cord of the trousers of his tracksuit. He uses the exact same.
What year was this?
94. And maybe over there they were allowed to have these things. Maybe not anymore. I know here you can't have.
Well, yeah. It's 30 years later, you don't get.
Yeah.
They figured out like we can't give you anything.
Right. So get this though, he uses the same knot on himself that he had used on all of his murder victims.
So either it was a confession knot or it was I only know one knot.
Or both.
But a bit of both, probably. Yeah.
One unnamed Austrian politician stated it was his, quote, best murder. When Unterweger was arrested.
I mean, he's not wrong, but it's still wrong. Like,
that's probably why he was like, look, I'm going to tell you this, but don't use my name.
Yeah, he's like, unnamed politician was like, he finally killed somebody he should have killed.
Right. He took out the one he was supposed to take out, but don't use my name when you say that.
Yeah. I'd rather he just rotted in jail in the hog for like ever. Or the Hague? Is the Hague or the hog?
Hague? I think it's the Hague.
I have an imaginary person called the hog where it's way worse.
When Jack was first arrested, he told them, I cannot bear to go back to a cell. Before his death, he had said that he intended to appeal. Under Austrian law, his guilty verdict was not considered legally binding after his death, as it had not been reviewed and confirmed by court.
Well, that's just silly. Was he going to come back and be like, Peck, oops, not legally binding?
Yeah. Over the course of his life, Jack seduced many women, and he was known as Casanova. And, well, currently, many of his ex-lovers are still convinced that he was innocent. And one of his most vocal advocates, his attorney, Astrid Wagner.
Sorry, guys. There's no dick that good. Stop it.
What you said. He had the same knot in his rope that all of his
also
victims
apologizes to both of my moms, for your mom and my mom, for me saying that, because they had to hear it.
I mean,
but it's true. It's true.
Look, my mom will go, whoa, and then she'll go, true. She'll go, but true. And then she'll call me and say, did you hear what he said? But he's right.
I can't believe I haven't said that. My mom will call me like, how did you let him say that?
But
how did you edit that out?
No. But I just think that the fact that he was going to appeal, and so his guilty verdict's not considered binding, like, what?
Well, I mean, that's the legal system is fraught with peril. And I think one of the most frustrating parts is that it doesn't make sense, no matter what side you are really on. There's so many rules. There's so much minutia. There are these if, but that, then this. And legitimately, I don't think anybody understands.
I will say, though, that I do think, one, justice was served because he was arrested, he was convicted, even though, he took his own life and it's considered not legally binding. Had he still lived, he wasn't getting out.
Killing. Yeah, no, he was, but they caught him.
Right.
He was going to keep killing. That's the only thing that matters. They stopped him.
They stopped him, right? Because he was not going to get back out. And I also think that, European, we've talked about this too, but like the European justice machine moves so much faster.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of layers and minutia. We've got like district courts and county courts, and like, there are so many steps you can go to get to the Supreme Court, but we have all these steps, and I don't think that is, and perhaps this is my naivete talking, but I don't think that is common in other countries, where you get to just keep trying for like 6 times if you can like appeal to some vague part of the Constitution.
Right.
And you don't have, and like, it doesn't even have to make sense. You can like appeal to this part of the Constitution that doesn't fit your case at all, but you can keep appealing because you're using that as the excuse. And then you get to the Supreme Court, they're like, no, it's just not a thing. But you can just prolong you can like literally kick the can down the road for decades.
Yeah.
Because of our system. And that is problematic. And again, I guess sometimes there's also like the flip side where we like find out that someone who has been appealing this whole time, we find new evidence and they've been innocent the whole time. So it's good that we have the process.
It is, but then it's in cases like this, you're like, just get it over. Which, like, they were like, boom, bam. He's arrested in May. In June, he's already in court, and then June he's convicted. There's no waiting. Whereas
that is quick. Yeah. Yeah. No, like here, if you get a misdemeanor, it's like, oh, we'll see you in 6 months for your first hearing. Then another 6 months after that. And then if you want to pay your fine of $100, it'll be 2 years from now. Right. And there'll probably be a bunch of fees we tack onto that because
just hold on,
it's been 2 years. Yeah.
Just build it up. What? Just put it in savings, keep adding to it because you're going to need it.
Because like, if you want to just pay the thing, you just pay the thing because it's not finished yet. So you gotta wait. So the U.S. justice system has its benefits and its negatives.
And it definitely has its pros and cons. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
As anything. Just like podcasts about Angelina Jolie. We have our good days, we have our bad days, but we keep on keeping on.
Oh my gosh! But
focusing on that North Star.
But that is the B-side. That is the story of the serial killer who convinced everyone that he was rehabbed because he may or may not have written a book, and got out and did it all over again.
And moms, earmuffs. Fuck that guy.
Extremely.
That's really frustrating. Like, the guy does all the crimes, then he gets a whole like media career, does more crimes, but in the middle, you got this like nice donut of celebrity, which is not okay.
No, and the fact that like I just find it so creepy that he comes to the US, he's like reporting on the murders that he committed and doing ride-alongs. Like the dude, like, again, sorry, Mom. The balls on this dude.
Right? Like the audacity. Like seriously. How, and I don't understand the physical reactions to murder as a psychopath, but was he just like riding around super happy and turned on about like nobody knows it's me?
Or maybe the thrill of like, I'm getting away with this.
Yeah, this is like some Joker shit. Like if Joker was rewritten for modern television, Joker would be like a psycho killer who somehow becomes a TV pundit and is still killing people and goes on the ride along and is like, I don't know who's killing these people.
And that, it's like, you know, like when you see the movie and you're like, oh, this part's really good. He's probably like, oh, that body's really going to be great up here. Like, you know, like.
He's like, oh, did you get the side? Like, pan the camera that way, I think.
Right. Yeah, I'm guessing you might find something over there.
It's not me, but if it was me, that's where I'd put the body.
Exactly.
Oh, so messed up. We make fun because we're trying to deal with the.
You laugh or cry in situations like this, and you know, I mean,
and there's been so much just stuff over the last month that is not fun to talk about.
Right. And you will never ever find us making fun of a victim, making fun of these jackass serial killers. Absolutely, because they're disgusting people. Sorry, moms, for cursing. But Adam said much worse than me.
I did. Moms, you can yell at me. I started it. I kind of led us down this path of vulgarity, which I always do, to be fair.
Grown adults, and we're like, sorry, mom.
We're apologizing to our moms. But I mean, I feel like that is a good sign. In
Very
a way.
Respectful.
Also, could be terrifying. but at least it just points out the fact that we know our moms listen.
Yes.
We also have many other listeners besides our moms, which is really nice.
Other people's moms, if you're offended too.
Well, yes, everyone's moms and everyone's not moms, like random children who decided to listen to this podcast. I apologize. Why did you listen to this? It was clearly rated 14 plus. If you're listening, we thank you so much, whether you're our moms or not. It is one of the highlights of my week when I get to log in and see how many downloads we've had, how many people are listening to our podcast, and it has been consistently encouraging and fun. And I cannot thank you all enough for listening, because it is a continual bright spot in my week to get to talk with Brooke for 3 hours. She's not contractually obligated to do this, but as long as the podcast is still doing, she still has to talk to me. So this is great. Thank you for that, listeners. If you have just stumbled upon the podcast and you're like, what is happening? What am I doing here? This is a podcast that talks about true crime and also media. And if you'd like to subscribe to it, go to our website, asidebsidepodcast.com or asidebside
Square.site. You were close.
Square.site. asidebsidepodcast.com. That one's working. And subscribe. We are on all of your favorite streaming platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Anchor, all of the stuff. It means the world that you listen. Like, share. You can follow us on all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Our MySpace is in progress. If you want to buy us a coffee, not me specifically, because I don't drink coffee. Horrible. I sound like I drink all of the coffee, like espresso, just baselining it before we start, but I don't. Brooke has to drink coffee to deal with all of my baselining of caffeine. So if you want to buy her a coffee, go to buy us a coffee, asidebsidepodcast.com. Go to our website, you can get all of the merch. We also have a YouTube station. If you like, sometimes YouTube is actually easier. You go there, and if you've got a YouTube premium account, you can let it play in the background, and it works better than some of the apps, because YouTube is super cool about you opening up other stuff. So that's an option if you ever get distracted by the fact that like you want to listen, but you also like want to check your email and do all that stuff. So YouTube's an option. And yeah, thank you, Brooke, for putting up with me. And I apologize to both of our mothers for swearing. And thank you, random person I went on a first date with, for giving me an entire A-side tonight. Because ironically, that is probably in the top 10 best first dates.
Wow. Well, maybe you'll still hear from her. You don't know.
It's been 5 days. That's not it.
Oh, okay. So, yes, like Adam said, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com. I can't even get it out.
It's okay, neither can I.
Wow. Okay. Yes. A-side, B-side, podcast.square.site, buymeacoffee.com/A-side-B-side-pod, or directly go to Scooters and you could just send a gift card, because like Scooters is quite the bomb. I take Starbucks too, whatever.
Yeah. There you go.
You can always email us, asidebsidepodcasts@gmail.com. And this was number 96. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, Brooke.